If you ever took the time to check the rankings of the American carriers, you would have noticed that Alaska is in the top of the list, while American is one of the carriers in the bottom. But does this really get reflected on the flight experience itself? Find it out at the end of this video. Brief comment on the ground experience and staff to start with. American staff was great in all the airports we visited to fly them, even at Buenos Aires. Alaska's staff at their main hub at Seattle-Tacoma, on the other hand, were much more serious and somehow bad-tempered. Except for a little overweight issue, everything with American went smoothly, although I must say that we had weighted everything before and they were okay, but well. Anyway, Alaska was having some trouble with their automatic check-in kiosks, and so we couldn't pay the luggage to drop there. Alaska charges a fee of $25 per piece, while American I think charges a similar amount, but I didn't get to pay that because of our flights were part of a long-haul reservation from Argentina. On to the seats now. Of course, just talking of the domestic experience, American seats weren't really comfortable. Rarely, they were quite similar to the long-haul ones, so imagine if I tell you that in the transcontinental flight I found them rather uncomfortable, what must have been in the 9-hour flight from Buenos Aires. Instead, Alaska's seat had much more legroom and consequently, I found it much more comfortable. American definitely has to improve their legroom though. In terms of features, they were both quite similar. Adjustable tray table, universal power outlet, USB port and seat pocket were there in both airline seats. However, while Alaska had a separate storage for the literature so that the seat pocket was exclusively for your items, American on the other hand had the in-flight entertainment screens with a really decent system. They had a really good selection of movies and music albums, which made the flights much more bearable. Kudos to American on that one. On to the in-flight catering service now. Let me say it was quite weak in both airlines. On the one hand, my flights with American were rather long for domestic flights, with a duration of 2 hours and a half and almost 5 hours respectively. And let me tell you that the service was literally the same in both of them. Just one drink service and some snacks. Especially for the 5-hour flight, this is really poor. On the other hand, Alaska's flight was almost 2 hours and a half too, and the service was similar. Just one beverage service and a little biscuit. Anyway, if you wanted to purchase anything, Alaska had quite a reasonable selection of things on their menu, but all the same, I somehow expected more of both airlines in the complimentary service. Though Alaska did have an in-flight menu, American didn't, so what you were given was all you could have throughout the flight, and that's why I consider it extremely poor. As I mentioned before, American features a decent in-flight entertainment system, but bear in mind that this is onboard their Airbus A321 fleet, on which the 2 of my domestic flights were operated. I know that some other aircraft of their fleet, such as their 737, don't even feature the in-flight entertainment screens, but they do feature some kind of entertainment via your own device, as well as Alaska does in this case. But anyway, I didn't get to use it. Furthermore, both airlines have the Wi-Fi option for an additional cost, but I don't know whether if it worked properly or not, because I didn't get to try it. So well, now let's make a conclusion. As I've already said in past videos, I don't believe that airlines appear in the top of the rankings just because of their in-flight service or seat comfort or any of those aspects, and even less in the United States domestic economy class experiences. There are roughly no differences between the different carriers, so I think that this has more to do, in this particular case, with the great frequent flyer program Alaska has, and also the good value for money they offer. Briefly, Alaska isn't part of any alliance, but they've got a frequent flyer program on which elite status are relatively easy to reach, and they've got a good number of partnerships with different airlines on which you can redeem your miles. But back to what I was saying, the ranking, at least in this case within domestic United States, is not reflected inside the cabin or in their service. It was roughly the same on every airline of the 3 I've taken. The legroom or the seats itself may change, but also being quite short flights, they won't change the overall experience much. So well, now yes, to conclude, I just can't tell you not to fly one of them because both were quite good. Alaska is definitely a good airline, but there was nothing that highlighted from the rest so that we could say that they are really the best, except for their legroom, which was exceptional. Then, everything can really be compared to what American offered in this case, except for the in-flight entertainment with the screens on board, which might not be in every single plane of American's domestic fleet, but at least on their Airbus A321s, they are definitely a point. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Stay tuned for the following comparison coming next Friday and for the following one on which a channel announcement will be made. Thank you very much for watching until the end once again and hope to see you next week for a new one.